welcome to another edition of Answers from the Ark, a new podcast for the families, team members and friends of the Ark Eastern Connecticut. I'm your host, Brian Scott-Smith. We're back with our fourth podcast in the series as we answer questions and provide up-to-date information about the Ark Eastern Connecticut during the coronavirus pandemic. And joining me as usual is Kathleen Stauffer, CEO of the Ark Eastern Connecticut. Kathleen, is always great to talk to you.
Nice to be with you, Brian.
Now, your team has been working hard since day one, obviously, of the COVID-19 pandemic. We are certainly by no means out of the woods, but clearly Connecticut has worked hard to get to this point. I believe we've all had some aha moments and a few lessons learned throughout this journey of quarantine we've all had to undertake. Tell us and share with us, if you would, a few thoughts on what this time has taught you and the organization.
We're stronger than we think we are. You know, we're able to do more when the chips are down than we think. And a team is always stronger than any one person on it. And crisis can actually lead to more creative solutions. I think what we've seen come out of the Ark Eastern Connecticut is some of the finest work we've ever done. Technology is a game changer in serving people with IDD and their families. And sometimes the system moves kind of slowly, and because of COVID, it had to move fast. So things have been approved, and tech solutions we've wanted to try are now allowable and fundable when they weren't before. So certainly some good things have come out of this. I think, being kind to one another matters. And I personally have been touched by how wonderful it has been to hear from our DSP heroes. I just want to thank everybody for the emails, the messages, and the feedback. I want to thank you for helping me to do a better job. I think when times are tough, it's really important not just to be kind to one another, but to ourselves. And it was just great to hear from team members who shared stories of family meals and homeschooling and planting tomatoes. And I know that homemade bread in our house went a long way in helping us have a warm and comfortable home. And I also want to thank people for sending questions, ideas, and concerns. Our C-suite team leaders are resourceful, responsive, and caring. And it has just been really great to hear from everybody. I felt in some ways that I was more connected to the agency than ever before. And so I would like to keep those lines of communication open. And I know the leadership team would like to as well.
That's great to hear. And I think, people being able to take a little bit of a moment because, they're quarantined and they're working from home, I think that is it, isn't it? We're not rushing around like we have done in our, pre-COVID lives. So it's nice to hear that. And I know that people will be so pleased, to hear what you've just said as well. We're going to be talking specific tasks, procedures and protocols about the phased reopening of the Ark Eastern Connecticut. But before we get to that, I wanted you to have a minute to speak directly to your Ark family, as it were. What would you like the family to know right now?
We can't do it without you. The people we serve, our families, our team, our community partners, we need each one of you, and we're grateful to walk in partnership for full equality with all of you. I do want to remind people, as good as so much of the news is, COVID cases are rising by 1 to 3% on any given day in Eastern Connecticut. The state, by and large, is doing pretty well. We do have a slight uptick, and we have been having a slight uptick. So we have to continue to be careful. Please wear your mask and wash your hands. These things really do work. Be careful of enclosed spaces with poor ventilation and try to avoid being in crowds. Right now, those things can make the difference between health and wellness and illness.
Absolutely. So let's get to it, the important stuff as well, the other important stuff, I should say, reopening. I know we've mentioned reopening on all of the podcast episodes, but here we finally are. What does the first phase of reopening look like for you and the Ark Eastern Connecticut?
Well, I want to thank our quality and operations team, Lori and the gang, for organizing a very effective sanitizing effort and cleaning effort. So first of all, the buildings have been cleaned and sanitized, every one of them. The duct work has been cleaned There is lots of fresh paint, you'll notice when you come back. And we have touchless garbage cans. In terms of the vans, everybody knows we have a lot of vans and we do a lot of transporting and a lot of transportation. The fleet has been cleaned and sanitized, and we are limiting capacity for transportation right now. And after each route, each van will be sanitized fully all over again. When you arrive for your shift, you will notice there are kiosks at the main doors for temperature checks and health screenings. Please work with us regarding the sign-ins, which are important for tracing. Should anybody happen to get sick, we're certainly doing everything we can to prevent that. And you're our first line of defense in preventing that. If you're going to have a guest, the guests need to call ahead and schedule an appointment because we are limiting the capacities of the buildings. And, we'd mentioned masks before. Masks have to be worn unless you're in a closed office. There is lots of sanitizer around, and I encourage everybody, please do use it. Social distancing is in full effect. You will see 6-foot markers throughout all of the buildings. Please take note of those markers and please use them. I do believe every person on the team has gotten a welcome back packet. I know we sent those out. Please check your email if you haven't seen one. I guarantee you it's in your email. All team members have received it. We're asking you to review it. We've got reopening procedures and protocols in there. All the things I've said are outlined. And, again, just please work with us on this. It's very important. We also are continuing with our virtual service models as we enter phase 1. We're meeting the needs and the comfort levels of people and the families who we serve. And we will continue to host larger team meetings via Zoom so that everybody can be in contact with one another and do so safely. The work times and spaces will be staggered so that some of the team will, in terms of admin, will continue to work from home part-time. And we're coming into the office in organized shifts to allow for social distancing so that everybody's got the space they need to work safely when they are in the office. And for the day programs, we've got a 2-session service structure, basically a morning program and an afternoon program. Our goal is to serve at 50% capacity. And then after each service shift, we then sanitize those buildings and those facilities thoroughly. So AM, PM shifts with thorough sanitization. And again, masks, temperature checks, health, wellness checks, and washing our hands constantly.
It's a big list. It's by no means an exhaustive list because obviously this is something which is constantly being adapted. But I think it's only fair to point out that a lot of work, as you say, by yourself and the entire team has gone in to make sure that the reopening phase 1 can happen. It's as safe as possible. But of course, it comes at a cost as well. This is not cheap to do, is it? And I think that's an important point to make to people.
It is not cheap. There is a big cost to it. In fact, it can be a staggering cost. We took in a shipment of 5,000 gowns last week, safety gowns. And the cost of 5,000 disposable gowns was $24,000. Fortunately, the Community Foundation of Eastern Connecticut gave us a grant for almost half of that money. But yes, the cost of this is very significant. Please be aware, but we are doing everything we can to put as much protective equipment around our team members. It's very important that everyone is safe.
And I suppose the final point that I'm sure you will want to make, health and safety, obviously the priority.
Health and safety comes first. The health and wellness of the people we serve and the people who serve. Absolutely, health and safety comes first. And Brian, together we can look out for one another. We can do that. We can work with one another. We can stay well and stay healthy together. Because we are, as you mentioned at the beginning of this podcast, we are more than just a team. We are, in fact, the ARC Eastern Connecticut family.
I know you and your team continue to work incredible amounts of time and effort to make sure that everybody stays safe. These are very difficult times for everybody. But, just knowing that you guys are out there and doing this and making sure that everybody that you look after, remains as safe as possible, from the community to also the employees.
Brian, we can do this. We can do this. We know what to do. We know how to do it. And we are going to get it done. So, yeah, thank you. Thank you very much for helping us out with these podcasts.
Not at all. It's an absolute pleasure. And it's obviously a great way to get that message out to people. As always, it's great talking to you. Stay safe, and we will be speaking to you again.
Thank you, Brian.
That's all from this edition. If you have questions you want answered, then send them to us at answers@thearcect.org, and we'll include them in future podcasts. And don't forget, you can get all the latest information about the coronavirus and what the Arc Eastern Connecticut is doing at their website, thearcect.org. Thanks for listening. Stay safe, and we'll have another Answers from the Arc podcast for you soon. Bye for now.